colonial rule ended, the Americans, just as the Spanish wanted to obliterate our indigenous music when they came, the Americans also wanted their own music in favor of the, yes, their own music over the Spanish kind of influence. So the former Senator Camilo Osillas, along with a certain Mr. Lane, Miss Lane, composed American lyrics to replace the Spanish lyrics. I don't know, maybe I was around that time. I think Jim Paredes was also around that time. No, Land of the Morning. Yes, I sang that in the same school. We came from the same school as Jim, the Arneo. And shortly after that, well, not shortly after that, in 1956, there was a Department of Education order, departmental order, that had the lyrics already translated in Filipino, in what we know now. However, there was another change, because originally, the anthem of Julian Felipe was a march. A march, as you know, is in 2/4 time, where you only have 2 beats in a measure. Now, the one of 1956, which was recreated by Colonel Antonino Benaventura, changed it to 4/4. Now, actually, rhythmically wise, there is no difference in 2/4 and 4/4. However, the difference lies in the accent. Because in 2/4, you make the accent every 2 beats. In 4/4, it's every 4 beats. What is the difference of a 2/4 like this and 4/4? Did you notice any difference? What is the difference? Riva. Yes, of course, there is an accent, but in terms of the spirit of the piece. Well, in terms of the phrasing, there is a little more smoothness, a little more fluidity in the 4/4 because you don't get to be too military. Okay? Yes. Now, in 1998, unknown to many, President Ramos issued a Republic Act 8491 that promulgated that the national anthem should be performed, sung, or played in the original style of Julian Felipe. So the 4/4 went back to 2/4, and the F major of Colonel Antonino Benaventura was put up to G. Now, as far as the metronome was concerned, although it's not included in the promulgation, normally it's approximately 55 seconds. So instead of the 48 seconds, remember the 120? For 120 metronome and 48 bars, you would expect to to sing the whole thing in 48 seconds. Because you have 2 beats and 120 divided by 2 gives you 60. That's 1 minute. So the 48 seconds to 55 seconds makes it slower, slightly slower. But right now, unless a new law would be provided, this is how we should sing it. So that is the national anthem. Now, also, since it would be performed, or it should be performed in the original. You know, Mr. Felipe was not really a professional musician in the strict sense of the word. In fact, have you ever listened to the melody of our national? I'm sorry that my topic has suddenly shifted, but this is part of our Philippine music anyway, and a microcosm of what our Philippine music is. So, did you ever listen to the melody? Let's take this as a A. And then, what's this? A pa rin. A pa rin. Tapos, and then, another B. And then, so it's really a repetition. A, B, B, C, C, something like that. So, in terms of variety, considering the fact that, of course, he had only 1 week to compose this, it would be understandable that his creative juices were not really exploited to the fullest. And so we have heard, and I myself had been guilty of injecting richer harmonies into the national anthem like this. Actually, this is not allowed because the the Felipe arrangement has only the tonic and the dominant like this. And of course, when you repeat it, it has to be exactly the same way. Yes. So anyway, this is the prevailing national anthem. I don't know how it was sung. I did not see the Pacquiao fight yesterday, but I don't know how the singer rendered it. But you know, there is a new law now that will that will provide for imprisonment and fine. Yes, fine and imprisonment. So beware, Mr. Martin Rivera and company. Anyway, this national anthem is really a microcosm of what Philippine music is. As I explained earlier, because we have been under Spain for so long, and before Spain was our ethnic roots, our Philippine music culture was changed drastically. In fact, Spain did not only want to promote its music, it wanted to obliterate the previous music. And when the Americans came, of course, they had their own, although they were not as rigid as the Spaniards were. Come the Japanese, they also had their own. Well, we did not have Japanese music, but the Philippine national anthem, of course, was not sung during that time. I forget the name of the two songs that were promoted in place of the anthem at that time. Di ba meron? Dalawang songs, I forgot the titles. Anyway, after we got our independence in 1946, so we went back to our national anthem, but the move to make it Filipino in lyrics, of course, started. And that was what paved the way for the 1956 Department of Education order that the national anthem would have Filipino lyrics. Now, my topic on music vis-a-vis the international scene would be more of Philippine music in general, not exactly songwriting, because the other two speakers already had delved in it also. As you know, during the Spaniards' rule, there were also a handful of Filipino composers and musicians that were able to penetrate the mainstream of musical composition. And one of them was Adonai. Adonai had composed a lot of music, mainly for the liturgy, for the masses. And up to this day, we still play his kind of music. Of course, predictably, his music was very much westernized. Along with Adonai came the Filipino triumvirate. We call them the triumvirate because up to now, we consider them the three most revered, most esteemed Filipino composers. They are Nicanor Abelardo, Francisco Santiago, and Antonio Molina. So together, they formed this group of three. And even though they had influences of the Western education, considering that some of them had already finished their degrees in the United States, they combined some Filipino melodic elements into their music. So it was still predominantly Western. When it came to the time of Miss Lucrecia Casilag, Miss Casilag tried to go one step farther and tried to inject East elements into her music. Notable among that is her composition for piano and orchestra. It's called the Divertissement. Now, Miss Casilag actually used indigenous folk themes and harmonies also, but she used the Western form and she used Western instruments. So it was really a hybrid of the two. Now, what are the predominant qualities of Eastern music that would distinguish it from Western? Well, first of all, as far as the the melody was concerned, Eastern music was very repetitive, very repetitive.